I put one on here that's sine. Cosine would be the same kind of shape. What shape is sine and cosine? A wave is what we're looking for here. A wave. Okay. So I put sine on here. Cosine would be the same kind of thing. And then I put secant on here. Cosecant would be the same kind of thing. What shape do those end up being? Yeah, like your U shapes. Okay. So looking at this one, what is your domain? It should be an automatic answer for sine and cosine. All reals. It's a wave. It goes forever, both directions. I'm going to hold off on the range until I get my picture. Amplitude. Sine and cosine are the only ones that have it. Otherwise, it's going to say none. This word is only applicable to a wave. All right. And it would be 4. It is your vertical stretch or shrink. All right. Period is 2 pi over b, or whatever is in front of the x, which is 2. So it ends up just being pi. So it was 2 pi. You squished it to just pi. So it got compressed is what happened. Phase shift, you need to factor in order to get that. Now, if you're like, the factoring is hard for me, this is the only thing you won't be able to answer. All right. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be 4 sine, and then you're going to factor the 2 out. Also, if you want to put plus nothing at the end, some people like, that's your vertical translation is going to be nothing. You can put none or 0. There's nothing added on at the end, but that just kind of completes the whole ABCD pattern. So if you factor a 2 out of this, you will be left with just x, right? Minus, what do you think? Pi over 2. You're dividing by 2, pi over 2. If you were to take the 2 and distribute it back through there, you would get what you started with. Okay, so your phase shift is left to right. Remember, it's kind of backwards. So what's your phase shift? Positive pi over 2. I will say on the quiz, a commonly missed thing was that one on the front went left. And a lot of you wrote left, but then didn't put a negative with it. So just remember, if it's left, it's negative. All right, so that's going to start your table, pi over 2. We're shifting to where the new start is. And then you're going to add the period because you want to do one cycle. So pi over 2 plus pi. Well, that'd be 1.5 pi, but we don't say it like that. It would be 3 pi over 2, 3 halves pi. That's 1.5. Now, here's where you kind of have to be good with fractions. We're going to break down to halfway in between. So in between 1/2 a pi and 1.5 pi is 1 pi. And now we need to break it down further. So if it is halves right now, that's going to break down into fourths. Okay. So this would be, if you want to write it off to the side, a lot of you did this on your quiz. This is 2/4. A whole pi is 4/4. This would be 6/4. You can just, break it down halfway in between. So what's going to go here? Yeah, 3/4. And then this one is 5/4. If you can't get that, make something up. But I'm going to clarify that due to a couple of things I saw in the quiz. And this is my fault. I guess I should have communicated this better. If you make something up, it needs to at least make sense. You can't just make up random numbers. If you're going to make something up, make up this. You ready? If you're going to invent something, make it be 0, pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Do you see what I'm saying? It has to make sense. You can't just put 4, 12, -7, 3. And I realized that was poor communication on my part. I said make something up. But when you make something up, it has to make sense. Are you with me here? Okay, cool. Now, it doesn't matter what that says because we're just going to go around our circle. And we're going to do what to all of our... Oh, first of all, which values are we going to take since it's sine? Sine is y. We're going to take all our y values. We're going to multiply them by 4 and then add nothing. Basically, just multiply them by 4. So what's your first y value? 0 times 4, 0. Then you're up at the top. Your y value is 1 times 4, 4. And then you're back to 0, -4, 0. Perfect. So this is broken down by fourths. The easiest way to, do your tick marks is go to the fourth one and call it pi. Now I know that all the others are a fourth. And then you can go to the eighth one and call it 2 pi. So I know that they're each a fourth without having to label all of them. You guys did really good with your labeling. You listened to me on that. Perfect. Nobody labeled like every single one. I didn't have to get out like my magnifying glass to see them. So very good job. All right, and then we're gonna just plot these and continue the pattern going. You should have 9 points total. All right, so pi over 2, 0, that's gonna be right there. And then 4, 0, negative 4, 0. I'm gonna stop narrating because I know that gets annoying at a certain point. But just make sure you do 2 full cycles of the graph. And I know it's more difficult when it's stretched out, but try to make it a nice smooth curve. It shouldn't be a jack-o'-lantern mouth. It shouldn't be like all jaggedy edges. I know that that's harder the taller it gets to do that, but just, make an attempt. And then just don't forget to go back and answer the range. You're sweeping downwards to upwards. So it would be from where to where? Yep, -4 to 4 with brackets. All right, so go ahead and flip over. And again, cosine would be the same as what we just did, except instead of your y values for cosine, you would do what? Your x values. It's the same exact process. Now, this one, we're going to have to wait on both domain and range. Amplitude is none. Again, unless it's sine or cosine, that should say none. It's only for a wave. The rest of this, we're going to do the same way, though. Period is 2 pi over what? 2. So again, it came out to just pi. Phase shift, we're going to have to factor for that. So it is going to look like this. Yeah. Do you mind shutting the door for us? So if you factor out the 2, it's going to be just x, which is kind of the whole point, plus, now this is already divided by 2, and you're dividing out another 2. You're factoring out a 2. So now it's going to be pi over 4. Good. And again, if you were to distribute the 2 back through there, you'll get what you started with. So what direction did it shift, left or right? Went left, so you have to put negative pi over 4. And again, that got some of you on the quiz. If it goes left, you need a negative there. Just remember it's the opposite of what it says there. And then what's your vertical translation? Yeah, 1, or you can write up 1, but just a positive 1 is good enough. All right, so we're starting at -1/4, and we have to add pi. So -1/4 plus 1 whole pi be 3/4. And then you need to break it down halfway in between that. If it helps you to draw a number line, and then you can leapfrog to the middle, this is -1/4. So like there's -1. And then here's 3/4. Do you see what I'm saying? That's -1 and that's 3. You can just leapfrog to the middle and it'll just be 1/4. Some people can just do it in their head. Some people need a visual. Like on the other side, I wrote out some little fractions. I'm a big fan of margin problems. Some people like get embarrassed by those and want to erase it. Like that's your thoughts. That's your brain working. It's fine, right? Then what's halfway in between -1/4 and +1/4? 0 pi, no pi. And then this would be 2/4, which is a half. Oh. Yeah, or you can write 2/4. I don't take off for that. If it's correct, I'm like, Now, if you had to make something up, fine. We're going to cover that up. How do we get secant from our unit circle? You're going to flip the x value. We're going to go around, flip the x values, and then add 1. Unless it's undefined. You can't do undefined plus 1, right? So what's your first x value? 1. 1. If you flip that, it is still 1 plus 1 is 2. Up at the top, the next one's 0. If you flip that, undefined, which means an asymptote in the graph. Over here, it's -1. If you flip that, it's still -1 plus 1, 0. Now, at this point, I hope you can just continue the pattern. You don't really need the circles so much anymore. The next one is undefined, and then 2, back where you started. If it was, let me ask this question real quick. If it was cosecant instead, what would you do? The only difference, you would flip y. It's the same process, though. Go ahead.
Because the cosine and the only ones with like the wave is The other graph's always gonna have like the.
Yes. They will have asymptotes in them. And you're going to learn the last shape today. We have a wave, we have U shapes, and then we're going to do the tangent and cotangent today. So you'll have learned all the shapes after today. So again, this broke down by fourths. So I just went to the fourth one, called it pi, went to the eighth one, called it 2 pi. We're going to start at negative a fourth, 2, which would be right there. And then an asymptote. It's kind of hard to see that one because it's on the axis. And then 0, and then another asymptote. And you need to continue it for 2 full cycles. So you should have 2 smiley faces and 2 frowny faces. And they're going to face away from each other. You should have that gap in between. Do you remember me drawing in the wave in between the gap? It's like you took the wave and turned it inside out is essentially what you did. They should face away from each other like this. So you should have 2 smiley faces and 2 frowny faces. Yeah, you can do more. You do as many as you want. I always get some people that like to fill the whole thing. I view that as a waste of time. But you can certainly do more. If you're like, oh, I just want to make sure I did enough. You're doing 2 cycles of it. So I would do the range next because I think it's the next easiest thing. You're going to sweep downwards to upwards. So it's going to be negative infinity up till where? Yeah, 0 with a bracket. Union, because you have that little gap. And then it'll be 2 to infinity. All right, domain. It starts like this. All x except. You're saying we want everything except where the asymptotes are. And the problem is there's an infinite number of them. So you start with the first one, which is either 0 if it's 0 or the first positive one. In this case, it's 0. So 0 pi plus however often they happen, which you can either look at your graph, look at your table, or if you want to memorize, it's going to be half the period. So what was our period? It was pi, and so it would be pi over 2, and then do you remember what we put to show it's infinite? N. The n takes care of the fact that it goes on and on forever and ever. So they are happening every pi over 2 forever.